Children are a true blessing from God. Children are also extremely expensive. If you don't do proper financial planning before having a child, before starting a family, you're putting yourself at risk of permanent damage to your financial situation. And more insidiously, you're putting the child in a position where they may never reach their full economic potential. Let's talk about it. Very happy, very excited about this. We've got our first Before we get started, hit the subscribe button. By subscribing, you help us further this message of financial literacy. Once you've hit subscribe, go into the comment section and just leave a comment letting us know that you did subscribe. Once you do that, we'll know that you've enlisted as a soldier in the war on economic illiteracy. A U.S. Department of Agriculture report from 2017 calculated that the average cost of raising a child from birth, from the day that they are born through the age of 17, is $233,610. That's $13,741 a year. Let that sink in. And that's for right now. We're not even counting inflation that's going to inevitably occur. So that number is going to go up. And it's crazy because these are little people. Little people cost a lot of money. Because when you have a child, you have to house the child. Of course, you have to feed them. You have to transport them to various places like healthcare appointments, school programs and activities. Of course, you have to clothe them, personal care, entertainment for the child, toys. These are expensive things, and it's all worth it because children, as I said in the intro, are blessings. Are you prepared to take on these costs? Is an unplanned pregnancy something that you can afford? When I talk about financially planning to have a family, this is what I mean. Let's take a look at it again. We said that $233,610 that it's going to take to raise a child from their birth through the age of 17. Now, that's not me talking. That's, again, the USDA. They have figured this out. $233,610. Divide that by 17, you come up with $13,741.76. Now, let us suppose that we're able to get 6% off of an investment. Wouldn't it make more sense to wait 5 years? Let's say you're in your early 20s, you just got done with college or what have you, or you just started a business, or you just started this new career. You're in your early 20s. Why not push back that time that you're going to have that kid just by 5 years? So now you're in your mid-20s when you have a kid, well before 30. But in that time frame, let's develop a financial plan. Let's take the $13,741.76 from year one, okay? That's how much it's going to cost that first year for you to raise this child. And if you can't afford that, or if that number makes you squeamish in any way, then that should tell you you cannot afford a child. But let's take that number and let's put that money away. And let's put it in something that's kicking back 5%. Pretty modest, 5%. Let's do that for 5 years. And each month during that time frame, let's put away an additional $1,145. If you multiply that by 12, it'll give you $13,741. Because remember, each year, you're going to be kicking out that amount of money to raise this child. So if we break it down monthly, it's $1,145. So your initial investment of $13,741.76, you're going to be making that every year for 5 years. And if you can get 5% off of that, look at this. You will have $95,185.08 socked away before you have a child. Now, don't you think that will put that child and your family in one heck of a great position when that child comes into the world. And then the other thing you've done is you've kind of inculcated yourself into the groove. You know how it feels to set this money aside and do something with it other than spend it on luxuries and things like that. But you brought the child into the world. Now you know how the $13,741 feels every year, but you've got that cushion of $100,000. Now that $100,000, that's not for you to take out and do anything with. You're going to let that sit and just continue to grow. Now let's take a look at the darker side of child support enforcement. Now, there are a lot of fellas out there, let's just talk turkey, who, for whatever reason, are not with their children in the home. The government gives you all types of incentives to do certain financial things. And the government feels as though it is best for you to remain in your marriage or in your home with your children. And if you don't do that, then guess what? The government can levy child support fees on you. They want you to be able to benefit this child financially because the government has done its due diligence. They know how important it is for the parents to take care of the children, because if they don't, then the government will end up taking care of the children, and they want to avoid that. So if you take a look at this table, these are the federal. This is the federal table. It's federal guidelines for child support enforcement, and you can see here that they can levy anywhere from just over 25% of your net to 45% of your net. So take a look at your latest paycheck and you calculate what 25 to 45% of your net income is. And I'm sure that will, make quite an impression on you. So I just wanted to mention that really quickly. Child support, that can be one heck of a financial incentive to remain in the home with the children. And you might be wondering, why did they take it out of the net instead of the gross? Well, because the gross is a bigger number. That gross, remember, is what Uncle Sam is going to draw his money from first. And then what you're left with is the net. And then they're going to hit you with the deduction from the net. I'd also like to point out that men aren't the only people that are responsible for child support. There are, granted, far fewer, but there are some ladies that have child support obligations levied on them by the courts. Just over 400,000 to be exact. And also, remember, this is not just a one-shot deal. You're going to be on the hook for this for quite some time. And if the child decides they want to go to college, then you could be responsible for these payments well into the child's 20s. Finally, let's discuss this study that was conducted by the World Bank and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They found, and this is pretty obvious, this is one of those studies where you're like, wow, you guys spent money on that? They found that children living in two-parent families is associated with higher savings rates in the countries that they examined. The savings rate is nearly double in countries with the most two-parent families compared to countries with the fewest two-parent families. Now, of course, this makes sense because if you're in the house with the entire family, the kids are there, the wife, the husband, everybody's there, then you're not going to have to spend money on certain additional things. You're going to enjoy economies of scale. You're going to have one rent or one mortgage. You're going to have one food bill, one gas and electric bill, one water bill. These things are going to lead to additional disposable income that can be diverted into savings. And of course, if you're able to do that, then you're going to be able to give the kid a head start in the next important piece of this study, which was the education aspect. Economics professors Joseph Price and Bradford Wilcox, in their book Unequal Family Lives, points out that children may benefit from the higher levels of time, money, and stability found in two-parent families compared to single-parent families. Before anyone gets up in arms, both Price and Wilcox state, and this is a quote, results cannot definitively prove that family structure has a causal impact on economic growth. However, if nothing else, the patterns documented in their research suggest that stronger families, higher household savings rates, and higher economic growth may cluster together in mutually reinforcing ways. So it can't hurt from an economic standpoint. But we do know that there are other variables that come into play. No one is trying to run away from that fact. But when it comes to the economics of the situation, which is what we talk about here, then this research that these organizations and these professors have done would tend to indicate that if you follow a certain pattern, not only can you develop a more economically sound personal economy, but you can also develop a relationship with money that benefits not just you, but your children, and they will carry on those types of behaviors more than likely and then benefit generations of your family to come.